let me just say this too. There's a difference between just an innocent person out there who happens to have the misfortune of not being able to think clearly or speak clearly, shuffles around, an elderly person.
Right.
We know who they are. And we're all getting down life's road and be there one day.
Yes.
If Lord willing, they allows us to live that long.
Right.
However, there's a difference between that and somebody who puts
Police reported ahead
as somebody who's not. Okay?
Right.
And who is the president of the United States. And he does, listen, this kind of thing goes all the way back to Gerald Ford. Or
Yes.
maybe even preceding him. Gerald Ford was probably in his mid-60s.
Look, this goes all the way back to our founding fathers.
Okay.
The newspapers, and I mean, there was always a lot of mockery.
Right. Well, but the thing about it is, so Biden, President Biden, I've already called him President Biden. I believe in using proper titles once, and then you don't have to after that,
Right.
because that's not, that's in journalistic circles, you use the title once, and then you don't have to again. Speaking of complaints, had a lady call me about a year ago.
Yeah.
And she said, "Hey, Tim, you didn't call President Trump. And I said, "Yes, I did." Because I was argumentative that day. I was ready to go.
Right.
It was like first thing in the morning, I had 2 cups of coffee. I was ready to defend myself. I said, "Yes, ma'am, I did. I called him President Trump." "Well, you didn't call him President Trump when you talked about him every time." I said, "You're not required to do that."
Right.
Okay. So I said, by the way, President Trump had to call Governor DeSantis governor one time.
Right.
He called him sanctimonious.
Yes.
So I kind of shut down that argument.
Yes. Way to go.
I just dunked on her. Right?
And if you're listening, ma'am,
Yeah, we love you.
We do love
you. Okay. Show no respect to to the newly elected governor of Florida. Yet I'm supposed to bow a knee every time I say his name.
Right.
So anyway, this is we do want to pay proper respect to the offices of president, governor, whatever office there is. But that doesn't mean those people, when they do and say things and act certain ways, don't deserve to be called out on it.
Right.
So, and I don't care which party they are or who they are.
Right.
So, but there's you don't want to get.
By the way, we used to do this with President Bush, President George Bush, George W. When the W.
Yeah.
When he would do one of his Bushisms, where he would say something, a normal expression, the wrong way, we would play that on air.
Right.
So
It's
I mean,
funny.
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
One time-
Farrell made a living off that.
He did. Yes.
Right?
He did. I remember one time, and I think we aired this soundbite one time when we were talking about gaffes from presidents. George W. Bush once famously told a blind man to take his glasses off, and when the guy said, "Well, I'm blind, Mr. President," Bush said, and I'm not joking, "Touche."
Yeah. Well, Biden, what was it, 2 years ago? They were doing some kind of an event, and he told the fellow to stand up.
Oh yeah.
That was during the campaign. Was it during the campaign?
The fellow was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
He said, I
Yeah.
can't stand up.
And then he's like, "Oh, what am I doing?"
Like paralyzed or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, all
That's
right.
just one of his many.
Listen, we make fun of one another on this show.
Right.
I go to my safe space and make a TikTok at least twice a day.
You make a mistake or a faux pas on the show.
Right.
The others on the panel are jumping on your both feet. So we come by this long.
That was Fred's first question when I got hired. You have a thick skin. It wasn't, "Can you read news comic?"
All right,
Canadians are known for their jokes, too.
Go ahead. Anyway, that is in the way of a public service discussion.
Yes, it is.
I guess.
First story, Chris.
Well, while we are respecting those in office over us, we also need to be in prayer for people around us. And I say that because a tornado has killed multiple people and injured many others in a town called Greenfield, Iowa, which is about an hour southwest of Des Moines. Terrible, no good, very bad situation here. We have at least one image on our website, afn.net. You can see a lot of debris scattered around what used to be homes and cars. What was interesting with this, guys, I don't know if you've followed a lot of the news reports, but even wind turbines were damaged from the powerful winds there. One of them caught on fire. So a really awful situation there that we all need to be in prayer about. And if we're going to a prayer meeting and Bible study tonight, remember these Iowans. And there's even bad weather today expected for places like Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Now, I've got a couple of sound bites here. One of them is from a Fox weather reporter who was reporting this morning near Greenfield, Iowa. Clip 1.
I mean, it is horrific to look at as you sort of look around here. Some aerial footage here showing where that powerful tornado tore through the middle of town in some areas. And it's actually you're actually able to see sort of the path that tornado took, cutting through the town of about 2,000 people. It has destroyed dozens of homes, businesses, uprooted trees, thrown cars, at least 18 tornado reports so far. But according to the Iowa State Patrol, we are talking about multiple people who have lost their lives in this tornado and in this community alone. Among the damaged buildings, we're actually talking about the Greenfield Hospital. Several people had to be taken from that hospital, guys, moved other places miles away.
You know what's particularly it's always tragic when there's a loss of life. It's very difficult for people when there's loss of property, so on and so forth. But when storms hit small towns, sometimes a tornado or sometimes hurricanes, like on the Gulf Coast, and they just basically obliterate a small town. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is just seems particularly tragic because there's just. Again, it's always tragic, but when almost an entire town is disappeared by the force of nature, it is just a very tragic situation. And this whole town was not destroyed, but it's the damage, loss of life.
Well, it wasn't totally, but I mean, it was hit hard.
Yeah.
Talking about Greenfield, Iowa.
You just wonder whether towns like that can ever come back from that.
Right.
Well,
when you look at these aerial shots and it happens every spring, okay, in a big swath of our country, that is where tornadoes are, regular, I guess you could say. Southeast, Heartland, Midwest. But when these tornadoes sit on the ground and they're like F4s, F3s, F4s, and in some cases F5s, if they sit on the ground and I'm looking at this aerial shot from Greenfield, Iowa, just about, looks to be like 400 or 500 yards of width of just things just absolutely smashed to the ground, just smashed it. And so, I mean, and not, it isn't often you find that people lose their lives.
Right.
Because I guess this was in the daytime, and it looks like it was was it the daytime or the evening?
It was in the afternoon, early evening.
Anyway, so you can see tornadoes coming, and you got Doppler radar.
Yeah.
You get warnings. You get warnings in today's, with today's technology. But a couple things. One is, oftentimes people don't, they're like me and like us. If you live in, well, I'll take that back. I didn't say what I was going to take back yet, have I?
Right.
Okay. I'm saying you kind of casually take tornado watches don't faze people who live in tornado
country.
Country.
Yeah.
Tornado warnings, yes, but even